The Eastern Sierra News, brought to you by the T-Bar Social Club, June Lake's newest gathering place, offering June pie, New York-style pizza, and year-round entertainment with a warm, welcoming atmosphere. See you in the loop.
In the news today, few concerns at Bishop's Airport scoping session for environmental assessment. The Bishop Paiute Tribal Council signs an unprecedented agreement with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, and the city of Ridgecrest resolves a dispute with the Timbisha Shoshone tribe. The Inyo County Board of Supervisors meets tomorrow. The Eastern Sierra Interpretive Association has the Rot Punked film screening coming up, and the Owens Valley High School is having a reunion this summer. These stories and more coming up. This is Alt 92.5 Sierrawave Eastern Sierra News, and I'm Bill Snyder. And the following story about the Mammoth Town Council, well, they're meeting in a nutshell. This is reported by Deb Murphy.
Here are the highlights of last week's Mammoth Town Council meeting. First, flavored tobacco ban. Mammoth Town Council banned the sale of flavored tobacco products with a 3-2 margin at its meeting January 15th. The ban goes into effect 30 days from passage, but retailers will be given the chance to sell off their existing stock. The ordinance doesn't specify a time frame within which that stock has to be sold. The ban includes menthol cigarettes and pretty much any product that includes flavoring and tobacco. California lawmakers have revived legislation that would put in place a statewide ban, but if passed, the ban would not preempt local ordinances. An update on the multi-use facility. Council got a look at the Community Recreation Center, formerly known as the MUF, along with a timeline to complete the project by Memorial Day weekend, 2021. Initially, the $13 million project was $3.86 million short. So along with the schematic, Parks and Recreation Director Stuart Brown identified funding sources that included $11.22 million from Measures U and R, reserves, as well as bonds issued under Measure R. The Council is gearing up for a 1% raise in TOT earmarked for workforce housing. With a July deadline to get a 1% raise in Mammoth's transient occupancy tax on the November ballot, the Council now has to convince stakeholders to support the measure. The increase will be earmarked for workforce housing. Town Attorney Andrew Morris encouraged the Council to nail down the details of the potential tax to meet deadline requirements, but the stakeholder engagement could begin before those blanks are filled in. According to Morris's presentation, the town cannot advocate directly, but can discuss the measure with housing advocates, lodging operators, and other stakeholders. Engagement may be useful in winning support for, or at least avoiding active opposition from groups affected by the tax, close quote. Some council members waffled. Bill Souser wanted to get input from the Chamber and Mammoth Lakes Recreation before council approved the increase for the ballot. I'm not as risk-averse, said John Wentworth. We need to put on our big boy pants, close quote.
Thank you so much, Deb, for that report. And the report can be found on our website, sierrawave.net. And this Saturday, one of my favorites, it's Film History in the Alabama Hills. There have been more than 400 movies and countless commercials that have been filmed in the Alabama Hills. Hear interesting and amusing stories about numerous productions as you explore the camera locations. This walk covers an area of movie flat that includes locations from memorable films such as Gunga Din, Tremors, and Django Unchained. This is a relatively easy hike, and it's on existing roads and trails covering less than 1 mile. It's this Saturday starting at 10 in the morning and wraps up around noon. Meet at the Arch Loop Trail Parking. Be sure to wear lured clothing for a range of conditions, wear sturdy footwear, and bring plenty of water. And for more information, contact Dave Kirk at 872-5000. And the VFW Auxiliary Post 8988 invites you to 484 Short Street this Sunday from 9 in the morning through 11 a.m. to enjoy a great breakfast of ham steak, eggs to order, home fries, large biscuits, coffee, and hot chocolate, all for a donation of just $11, and children 12 years and younger Well, they're half price. This breakfast is open to the public, and free delivery is available upon request. To ask any questions, or if you want to arrange for that free delivery, just give them a call at 873-5770. If you were summoned for jury duty for the Superior Court in Independence this coming Monday, January 27th, well, this panel has been canceled, and you do not need to appear. And in transitions, Vincent Scott Harmon was born October 24th, 1965, in Puyallup, Washington, to Albert Harmon and Villia Kutsky. Throughout his younger years, he attended schools in Lone Pine, Independence, and Bishop. He developed a great love for football, baseball, and fishing. Scott was a lifelong Owens Valley local and befriended most anyone who came in contact with him. He would spend most of the beautiful Eastern Sierra days fishing at the Owens River before finishing off the day with a few beers and social hour at his favorite watering hole, Rusty's. When he wasn't fishing, one could most often find Scott watching his beloved Dallas Cowboys or the LA Dodgers. Scott also loved his Chevys and found great enjoyment discussing Chevys with those that favored Fords. Although he loved his Chevys, Scott sure did have a lot of love for his Mercury towpaths. He was a very proud member of the Bodie chapter of E. Clampus Vitus. Scott was a man that one could call on at any time, and he would give his all to any task. He could often be found laughing and telling stories about those that mattered most to him. Scott lived the last months of his life being cared for by the wonderful staff at Southern Inyo Hospital before passing away from a prolonged illness on January 11th. He left behind many wonderful memories and stories for all those who knew him, and his happy and funny demeanor will be greatly missed. Scott is survived by his beloved Catahoula named Callie, his mother Villia Kutsky, brothers Richard Harmon of Virginia Beach, Shea Boziel of Tucson, and Ben Saluski of Bishop. He is also survived by numerous cousins, nieces, nephews, grandnieces, and grandnephews. A memorial service, celebration of life, will be held this summer.
Welcome to Mammoth Lakes, California. Nestled into this beautiful community is one of the most cutting-edge medical groups in the United States, the Mammoth Orthopedic Institute at Mammoth Hospital. With the focus of offering high-quality, minimally invasive services, first-rate trauma care, and a total joint replacement program for their patients. The primary focal point at the Mammoth Orthopedic Institute is to do what is right for each patient. The doctors are experts at treating elite-level athletes. Dealing with athletic traumas through the use of advanced techniques is something these doctors deal with regularly. The physicians, who are among the best trained and specialized surgeons in the country, and the staff strive to provide the best orthopedic care possible. This state-of-the-art facility's mission is to get you back to the things you love as fast as possible. Their pledge is to provide meticulous care in the accessible, down-to-earth environment this area is known for.
A topic of concern has been transient parking in our communities. Sierrawave's Dev Murphy spoke with Larry Emerson, who shared this release related to parking around the West Line Street area in Bishop. This release is dated January 27, 2020. The Eastern Sierra Continuum of Care, a coalition of human service providers recognizing the demonstrated need in the community, will operate a safe parking lot with up to 15 vehicles on the Bishop Church of the Nazarene property at 900 West Line Street in Bishop. Persons experiencing homelessness and living out of vehicles may be permitted to park overnight in spaces along the church's west property line only between 7 p.m. and 7 a.m. daily, and must leave the premises in the morning. Trained staff will supervise the parking lot and ensure that participants comply with established rules and regulations. In addition, targeted vulnerable populations that include families with children and persons with disabilities will be linked with essential services and housing. Security measures that shall be reviewed and approved by law enforcement will be incorporated into standard operating procedures. A conditional use permit for the proposal was considered by the Inyo County Planning Commission on January 22, 2020, and approved after considerable discussion. This was considered on review and approval by the county sheriff and Bishop Police Chief of an action plan with measures for adequate supervision and site and building security. The project administrator, the Inyo Mono Advocates for Community Action, also known as AMACA, must also comply with applicable codes and submit a report after 1 year to the planning director, who may refer the permit back to the Planning Commission if there are substantial violations of conditions or impacts to the community. Understanding the desire and necessity for additional community discussion, the Eastern Sierra Continuum of Care is scheduling a public information meeting in the next 2 months before beginning operation to receive comments and incorporate additional reasonable measures into the security and operation plans that address community concerns. For more information, please contact Larry Emerson at AMACA at 873-8557, extension 109. The Eastern Sierra Continuum of Care was established in October of 2013 and includes community advocates from faith-based organizations, nonprofits, and government agencies that promote, fund, and implement programs assisting families and individuals experiencing or at risk of homelessness in Inyo, Mono, and Alpine counties. The nonprofit agency responsible for the continuum of care, planning, and reporting activities is the Inyo Mono Advocates for Community Action Incorporated, or AMACA. You can read this whole story on our webpage, Sierrawave.net. And this following story was also filed by Deb Murphy. After the issues faced with the short-lived tenure of Bishop Unified School District Superintendent John Ray, Inyo County's Office of Education is giving it another try, this time with a lot of community input. Barry Simpson, superintendent of the county office, held a community meeting to cover the process. Fewer than 10 people attended the meeting, compared to standing room only at meetings where complaints against Ray were heard. The county office sent out questionnaires to 12,000 district residents and received 183 responses back. The results indicated those 183 wanted an honest, ethical superintendent with strong listening and communication skills. What they don't want is an assertive, self-reliant risk-taker. The future superintendent skill set should include public relations, human resources, and budget development management and curriculum development and evaluation. While there was some desire to promote from within, the new superintendent has to be willing to understand the community and its needs. Simpson said the position has been flown, and the office is already receiving applications. Those applications will be reviewed by 3 panels, with community members on all 3 panels. The list will be pared down to 3 applicants with site visit schedules at those applicants' previous and current schools. That strategy should weed out an applicant with issues, Simpson said. The final choice should be announced at the school board's April meeting. Simpson gave Ray credit for his proposed changes, but, quote, he bit off a whole lot at once, close quote. That, combined with what Simpson described as Ray's poor communication skills, led to his exit late last year. And we'll be right back.
The Eastern Sierra News, brought to you by the T-Bar Social Club, June Lake's newest gathering place, offering June pie, New York-style pizza, and year-round entertainment with a warm, welcoming atmosphere. See you in the loop.
The following is a special report for Sierrawave Radio. Bob Todd, morning on-air talent for Sierrawave Radio, has passed. Hello, I'm Bill Lefevre. In 1996, Bennett Kessler started this company, Sierra Broadcasters, by putting on the air K-Day Radio, 92.5 FM. I came on board about 6 months later, and not too far behind me was Bob Todd. Bennett at the time was working as editor for the Inyo Register, along with Bob as the sports writer. She told me about Bob and how she would hear him on the phone gathering information for his sports column. She said she thought he would be a natural on the radio. She was right. Bob started a morning shift that he built into The Bob Todd Show. At the time, we played an adult contemporary format. Bob was a deadhead and a classic rock fan, but he played the adult contemporary songs Bennett programmed and asked him to play. Bob loved sports of all kinds, and he made it his mission to report on all local sports. Bob was a stickler for the stats and the facts. It had to be right. Bob told me one day about local sports. If a kid kicked a ball, caught a ball, threw a ball, or participated in any school sport, sooner or later, they would be mentioned on the Bob Todd Sports Show. Bob appreciated the effort put out by all the kids that played a local sport and felt they should be recognized for that. When we added television channel TV3 to the company in 2000, Bob would travel to all the Bishop Bronco and Mammoth Husky high school football games and film them along with brother Spike Todd and Pastor Kent Poles. They would drive back that night from wherever the game was, and Bob would come into the studio to edit the game and get it on TV3 for broadcast the next day. He would go home for a couple hours of sleep and then come back to start his radio show at 6 a.m. that morning. Bob, Spike, and Kent took great pride in bringing local high school football to television. As the years went by, Bob slowly started working into the radio programming some Grateful Dead and classic rock songs. Bennett was a tough sell, but she allowed Bob to continue to add the music he enjoyed and felt his listeners wanted. This time, Bob was right. His morning show grew in popularity. He had a huge following for the music he played, the sports he reported on, and his gift of gab. Bob was old school in the way he ran his show. No computer playlists for him, just stacks of well-used CDs all over the studio. But Bob knew where each CD was and what number the song was that he wanted to play next. He was a great talent in many ways. Bob soon gained a sidekick for his most popular feature, 1020 Trivia. Bob Todd and Catherine Hurdle were a good yin and yang. Bob and Catherine both had a quick wit and played well off one another. 1020 Trivia was a hit, and it was all Bob's idea, part of his show. When we lost the founder of our company, Bennett Kessler, in 2015, Bob had already taken over the news side of the business, gathering news and delivering it on both our radio and television stations, maintaining the news on our website, and doing a great job at that. During the 2007 Inyo Complex wildland fire that threatened the town of Independence and the historic Mount Whitney fish hatchery, Bob grabbed a camera and started covering the fire along with Bennett Kessler, shooting video for the TV news and bringing the latest information to the public on the radio. This was not a part of Bob's job description, but it was a part of his DNA to do what was needed, no matter what, to keep the public informed. Bob was a stickler, too, for proper spelling and grammar, and most of all, punctuation. Me? Not so much. But Bob inspired me to get better. Anytime I wrote a letter to a client, I would ask Bob to edit it for me. My goal was to have no edits. I wanted an A+. I wanted to make Bob proud, but he always found something. Bob loved his job. He loved entertaining his listeners, and he loved the Grateful Dead. Bob was in the radio studio every morning at 6 a.m., no fail. Bob and I had a running joke on how many times over the years we greeted each other in the morning. Good morning, Bob. Back to me with a good morning, Bill. Somewhere over 5,000 times, I figure. Bob loved his family and his dogs. He took great pride and satisfaction in reuniting lost pets with their owners by putting out the word on the radio as soon as he had it in hopes that he could help get a beloved pet back to their family. He loved all people. He would always choke up on the air doing obituaries for others that passed, even ones he never knew. Bob Todd had a huge heart. He had a thing, too. Anytime I was going to be away from work for a few days, Bob would, without fail, make it a point to come to my office and offer a hearty handshake and wish me safe travels. I'll never forget that. Bob was not only my coworker for over 20 years, he was my friend, and I'm a better person for knowing him. Now, safe travels to you, Bob Todd. You added so much joy to so many with the Bob Todd radio show every morning. You have left your mark, and it's huge.
The Eastern Sierra News, brought to you by the T-Bar Social Club, June Lake's newest gathering place, offering June pie, New York-style pizza, and year-round entertainment with a warm, welcoming atmosphere. See you in the loop.
Sierrawave Media received this news release from Deb Schweitzer, Public Affairs Specialist for Inyo National Forest. The Inyo National Forest is seeking input on the proposed road maintenance and motorized mixed use for 8 National Forest road segments in Inyo County. The proposed project would meet 2 goals: formalize Inyo County's role in road maintenance along 8 segments of Forest Service roads and allow Inyo County to determine whether to allow motorized mixed use non-street legal vehicles on these roads. The Inyo National Forest is considering issuing special use permits and easements to meet these 2 goals. The 8 road segments being considered are parts of Death Valley County, Onion Valley, Foothill, Coyote Valley, McMurray Meadows, Division Creek, and Mazurka Canyon roads. A total of approximately 27 miles are being considered for inclusion in this project. The project proposal and maps can be accessed on the webpage fsusda.gov/project. The White Mountain District Manager, Philip Dezenz, will be hosting a public meeting to provide information and answer questions about the project. The public meeting will be held on January 22nd from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at the Inyo National Forest Supervisor's Office, 351 Paco Lane in Bishop. Forest welcomes any input or suggestions the public may have to improve the project and any concerns with the proposal. You may submit written comments via email to Erin Noesser, that's erin.noesser@usda.gov, or to Inyo National Forest, Erin Noesser, 351 Pacu Lane, Suite 200, Bishop. While you can provide input at any time, your input would be most helpful by February 18, 2020. We thank Deb Schweitzer for sending that information to us. Receiving notice of airport scoping meetings to be held next week, Inyo County is proposing to initiate commercial air service at the Bishop Airport. The proposed project would relocate United Airlines' scheduled commercial air service to Bishop Airport as early as fall 2020. Mammoth Yosemite Airport would continue to offer air service from Jet Suite X and other similar charter services moving forward. The move would create more reliable and consistent air service options for residents and visitors in the Eastern Sierra region. As part of the process, Inyo County is preparing an environmental assessment and initial study to evaluate and disclose the potential environmental impacts associated with the proposed airline service at the Bishop Airport. The EA will be prepared in accordance with the National Environmental Policy Act, and the IS will be prepared pursuant to the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act. The final EA will be submitted to the Federal Aviation Administration, and the FFA will use the EA when deciding whether to issue a finding of no significant impact or to prepare an environmental impact statement. The final IS will result in the subsequent preparation of a negative declaration, mitigated negative declaration, or an environmental impact report. Scoping. Inyo County is holding a public scoping workshop meeting as part of the preparation of the EIA and IS for the proposed air service. The meetings will provide an opportunity to provide input on environmental issues related to the proposed action, alternatives to be evaluated, and suggestions on the scope of the environmental documents. There will be an additional opportunity to comment on the proposed project when the draft EA and IS are circulated for public comment. The scoping period for the proposed project began January 11th and ends February 6th. 2 meetings are being offered, so please make sure to mark them on your calendars. The first is Wednesday, January 22nd at the Bishop City Council Chambers, 377 West Line Street in Bishop. The second is being held Monday, January 27th at the Town of Mammoth Lake's offices, 437 Old Mammoth Road, Suite Z, from 6 to 7 p.m. If you need further information or assistance, please contact Lara Kaler, Director of Communications. We have that story and more on our website, sierrawave.net. This word coming in from the Home Street Middle School, Colts in Motion. They're having a bingo fundraiser night. Games, prizes, raffles, and more. Small bites and refreshments provided. Cash bar available. Must be 18 plus to attend. Will be held at the VFW Hall in Bishop on February February 1st. Tickets are $25 per person. You can contact Autumn Tyerman with questions at atyerman@bishopschools.org or find someone who is a member of the team who can sell you a ticket. Again, this is a drill team fundraiser for Home Street Middle School. As mentioned yesterday, Eastern Sierra Interpretive Association was scheduled to host the first in a series of Winter Adventure with Katie Lambert. Unfortunately, due to the weather, this has been rescheduled, so please mark your calendars for February 11th. Meanwhile, also mark your calendars for next week, January 23rd. The topic will be Rock Climbing, Foundation for Life. Katie Lambert will weave a tale of how rock climbing has been the foundation for her life, from the bayous of Louisiana to the granite of the Sierra, and how she came to call Bishop home. Doors open at 6, program begins at 7, tickets just $15, under 18 are free. Admission includes one beverage of your choice. Bring your own cup or mug or purchase an $8 ECS stainless steel mug on site. We look forward to seeing everyone there January 23rd, and again, the session that was scheduled for January 16th has been rescheduled to February 11th. This is Alt 92.5, the Sierrawave Eastern Sierra News. I'm Kat Greenman in for a recuperating Bill Snyder. We'll be right back.